Okay. Hello, it's Chelsea. I'm here with my co-op teacher, Jess Rodriguez. She's a first grade teacher at our school. So I was able to last week observe her for 2 lessons. The first time I did her Haggerty lesson and intervention and then her whole ELA block. And then the second time it was just the Haggerty and the intervention. So we're going to just kind of talk about how things went and get to where we need to be. So the first lesson was, like I said, it was the whole ELA block. So as a whole, like summarizing like your whole group of your first grade students right now, like with your ELA block, like how do you think it's going, like compared to years past, things like that?
So typically for the beginning of first grade, we would like the kids to be reading around like 18 words a minute coming into first grade. This year's first graders, I have 81% of my class is not meeting that target.
Wow.
So this is a struggle because then when we broke it down further into our AIMSweb, we learned that a chunk of the kids don't know their letter names and sounds. So we also, as you know, lost our reading specialist this year. So we are responsible for teaching our own reading intervention. So that has been a struggle because each kid basically in the class needs a different targeted area.
Right.
So we have structured intervention to be, instead of when we had a reading specialist, like maybe 2 or 3 groups, this year my reading intervention time has 6 small groups.
Right.
So
and you do have still a use of your para.
Yes, the para takes, what we do is like I have 3 groups and 3 groups, and then the 3 groups rotate with the para one day, and then the 3 groups rotate with me one day, and then we flip-flop those kids.
Okay.
So, so everybody is getting intervention every day on their targeted skill.
Right.
It's just a lot of planning.
It's just a lot of planning, and you're planning for the para as well, of course. So, okay. So compared to last year, it's a totally different group that you are seeing.
Yes, 100%. And there's a big chunk that do not know their sounds, and it's really hard to build off of CVC words when you don't know your sounds.
Right. That was the one thing that I had noticed. I wrote down, like, when you're even asking to read, like, simple directions for something that they're doing independently, like, they're sounding out every single sound, still trying to blend in, like, they're not reading anything yet on their own. So to have only one other adult in the room at one time is very challenging.
Yes,
so,
very much so.
Okay. And we all know that things are different, but things that we lost a lot of support and we're a lot worse right now. So it's okay. So what is there any, like, I know you changed a lot this year, like with this intervention group, like, are you brainstorming anything else that you think might help, anything in general that way?
Well, we've done like lots of, and when I say like we, it's like the team, the first grade teachers and I, because they're experiencing across the board the whole.
Yes.
My class is more so divided with, I have a very high section and then I have a very low section and very few in the middle.
Okay.
So we have just like worked on pulling our resources together to start from the bottom with like letter sounds and letter names, and then scaffold all the way up to like fluency. So we have like groups that are just letter sounds, and we're drilling that, which as a first grade teacher, I've maybe had to drill letter sounds maybe with 1 or 2 students.
Okay. In your, how many years have you been teaching?
Yes, it is my 19th year of teaching. And this year I have 4 kids that do not know letter names or sounds. And so
and it's hard, like being one of the kindergarten teachers last year, like we saw a lot of the same problems, like, you know, you try to close as much gap as you can, but it's just that we, like, need to take a step back and think, like, we are totally different where we are right now. So, is it ever anything that you think, like, since you're all 3 first grade classes, like, on the same page, like, would you ever be able to, like, combine classes and split intervention like that way? Would that be?
We've tried. We've actually talked about doing that. We're actually like in the process of trying to talk about doing that. We were just talking right now before we had this meeting that the challenge of that would be like, we are, as you know, like having a hard time with sub shortage. So like our paras are, for example, like my para just was not here for 7 days. So like I had no help for 7 days. So that would mess with the groups. And then too, like our learning support teacher is currently teaching reading intervention, but she keeps getting pulled from another class. So if we don't have that, we feel like if one missing part is not there, it's going to be harder to make up for that than if it was in our own.
Understandable.
Like, you know,
you at least know your class that if something isn't working out, you can pull something that will
Right.
benefit them rather
Yes.
than someone else. And
Yeah.
our learning support teacher is not a reading specialist, and she is being used as a reading specialist. Okay.
So like this week we don't have reading intervention
Mhm.
with her all week.
Okay.
So like it was easier for me to just pull those 3 kids that she does see and like practice letter names and sounds with
Okay.
them than it would have been like if it was divided across
If it was
all 3
divided
classes.
all 3 classes.
You know,
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Okay. So a lot of changes,
Yes.
a lot of differences, that more things that we're trying to have to do.
Yeah.
So it's nice that like I know the other 2 classes and you guys are very close, and like same with us, like you're able to work with each other, and
Yes, that's
it helps
huge.
to have other people to be able to talk to about it.
Yes,
So
for sure, that's huge.
so things like that you like you said, you've only ever probably had 2 kids struggling with letter sounds at this
Yeah.
point, but like, and to have a shorter group, a smaller group to be able to do that, but like
Yeah.
you don't have the time to be able to devote to that. So if you were able to like dedicate a given time
Mhm.
for your kids, those special kids that are not special, I mean those certain kids that are working just on letter sounds, like is that during your intervention time?
Yeah, I would think so. Or like even it would be nice if we could do it during stations, because then like we have an intervention period and then we have our stations, and the
Okay.
way like our stations are, we do 4 stations a week, but they
Mhm.
stay in that station. So
Mhm.
like they do 1 a day, so they're not wasting time with transitions
Right.
rotating. So like that one day I take my low group on Monday.
Okay.
So like that day too, like for that 30 minutes I really drill with
Really?
those kids letter
Okay.
sounds, and then we also like work on the beginning CVC words
Okay.
and like patterns like that.
Okay.
too.
And then the other groups, like during that time, it's an independent, 2 independent and a para?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's 2 independent. One's always writing. One's always like a phonemic skill.
Okay.
And then the para does the skill of the week and reads the leveled readers, and then I do like the skill of the week or whatever their target skill is.
But
plus
more
the
target.
decodable.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but with that group, like as an independent station, are they able to?
They get a completely modified version
Okay.
of an independent station,
Okay.
whereas like I have sheets. So the writing station is my high group will just go to town and write 3
Mhm.
sentences.
Mhm.
My second highest group will have to write 2 sentences.
Okay.
My next group, I just ask them to write 1. And then my lowest group, I write the sentence for them, and they just have to copy it and replace 1 word. Like,
Okay.
my job is, and then I'll have like a picture of, I don't even know, like a construction worker or
Mhm.
something. I'll be like, my job is to dig. Or
Okay.
like, and they
And
just
that's all they
fill
have
it.
to
That's
write.
all they have to do, and then they just have to copy it.
Is that also different from years past? Have you ever had to have
yeah,
that
for
strong
sure.
in
Like
writing?
I
Okay.
actually years ago taught learning support, and I had to get like some of my learning
Some of
support
that.
stuff out for
Okay.
that little group.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I know like you guys did a lot of your Ames Web data in the beginning of the year, and we had talked before that like
Yeah.
first grade benchmarks are not for letter names and letter
No.
sounds. So you just do the oral reading fluency for a
Yes.
score.
Yes.
And like you had said, with some of your kids, you had to do the letter sounds because
Yes.
you were wondering. So thinking about those couple kids that you did, like
Mm-hmm.
where are they at in letter sounds in a minute? Like if you can remember.
Yeah,
Sorry,
like
I know
no,
you-
I haven't. They were at like 6. One kid was at 6 in a minute,
In a
which
minute.
is lower than the kindergarten.
Lower than
floor.
kindergarten.
And then
Mhm.
the other little kid didn't know any. Like
So at the
So-
beginning of first grade in 1 minute. And I
Yeah.
know like our kids suffer a lot from regression over the
Yeah.
summer in our area, but that's huge.
yeah, and
So
like the one little girl who did not know any, this is her first school experience.
Okay.
She went to a charter school that was like more social based
okay.
and non academic based for kindergarten. So,
So-
like this is her
First experience.
with it.
Okay.
Yeah. So
How is she doing with everything lately though? Like just being
she's-
exposed.
exposure is like working a little bit, but
Mhm.
not to the rate. Like I mean,
That she should
we're
be.
starting long vowel patterns soon,
Okay.
and she doesn't even know her short
Short
you
vowels,
know, so
right,
it's a little
right,
tricky.
okay.
Yeah.
So I know you do a lot of like different things with
Yes.
them, but we can just go over some of the stuff.
Yeah.
Like I know you brought some like letter sounds. So it's
Yeah.
these are
So
just
this is
they do these just tapping out and
Yeah.
like is this in a timed amount or
no,
is it
they
just
this is like something that we'll drill like with them at intervention or during teacher station, and it's just a real quick like 5-minute review to
Okay.
see what they do. And this is not even my lowest student.
okay?
She's probably like my 3rd or 4th lowest.
Okay.
So she's making a lot of progress.
Yes.
Like she just has trouble with E and Z and D and Q.
Okay.
But then like so we do these and then they redo them and like she's getting it
Yeah,
better
much
now.
better there.
Yeah. And then we move over to once they've mastered that, then we practice like the CVC
Sounding
and
out.
dot them
Okay.
out and slide.
Okay. Now, I know like we had mentioned before about like not knowing letter sounds, they can't do blends and
Yeah.
digraphs and
Yeah.
all of that. So it's like really, really,
Yeah. It's the
really
foundation
hurting.
for
Okay.
sure. Yeah.
So this is not your lowest. Okay.
No. And then,
Now,
like,
this is one of your lower.
I mean, this is the lowest one. She
Okay.
doesn't know any of them.
She doesn't
so,
know
like,
any.
No.
Okay.
So like when I do it with her, whereas like the other student, I would be like, Kay says,
And you do it
and then
with
she
her.
does it. You know.
Okay.
But like with this student, I like literally have to say, Kay says, what does Kay say? And she repeats it, and then we'll do the whole row, and then I'll go back and try to have her say the sounds,
And there's
she doesn't
nothing.
get them.
So there's no
So I
retention
don't mark them
with
off as theirs completed unless
Okay.
it is like strictly that
Just
we're
her
done.
doing
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Have you ever incorporated like, I know this is more of a kindergarten thing, but do you have what time are they coming back in?
It sounds like
Okay.
making soup. That's okay.
Okay,
You know,
we
yeah.
might have to move a location in just a
Yeah.
minute, but like kindergarten thing, like we do more like motions with letter sounds to like
Yeah.
help them like retain that. Like, is that something that would help with her?
Probably
like, do you think that would
yeah,
help?
because we do that with sight words.
Okay.
And they really do that well with like
Right.
sight words. So yeah, we could definitely try that. That's a
Okay.
good idea. Yeah.
That was something that I was going to maybe think whenever I have to do my lesson. So
Yeah, that's a great idea.
okay, so and then I'm sure that some of these things I was just trying to brainstorm some ideas, but like a letter ball, like
Oh, that's
where they
cute.
have to like you write the letters and they throw it to each other like with your small group.
Yeah.
And when their thumbs land on a letter, they have to say the letter or the letter sound, like however you want to do it. You can
Yeah.
do it both ways.
That sounds great.
Okay.
That's a great idea.
And then like a lot of magnet words, you know,
Yeah.
sounding out those and whiteboards, just because kids love trying to be fun and
Yeah.
things, but those small intervention times, I don't know if that would be possible.
Yeah,
or
I think
not,
that would
so.
be great. Yeah,
Okay.
I think that would work great.
Okay, well, sounds good. Whenever I come in and do my lesson the next time, like we'll probably try to do some of these just with your, like I'm going to do your phonics lesson and then start with your one of your intervention groups
Perfect.
if that's
Yeah, that is
possible, and then
perfect.
we
Yep.
can go from there.
Yeah, perfect.
Awesome.
Thank
All right,
you.
thank
All
you.
right, thank you.